The desert wind blew hard, covering everything in red sand. Commander Reed stood at the edge of the crater, his boots sinking slightly into the ground. In front of him was something strange, something not from Earth. A black pod, shaped like an egg, was half buried in the soil. It had no windows, no buttons, and no markings, except for one strange symbol glowing faintly in blue. This wasn't in yesterday's satellite scan. The young soldier beside him said nervously. Reed didn't answer. He stepped closer to the pod. It looked untouched by time, even though the crash had been hard. The sand around it had turned to glass from the heat. The rest of the team moved in, bringing scanners and tools. Reed ordered them to back off. "Don't touch it," he said. "Not yet." For the next 2 hours they scanned it. No radiation, no heat, no sound. It was completely sealed. Not even laser cutters left a scratch. It was as if the metal was alive and refusing entry. Frustrated, the team gave up. But Reed, he stayed. He waited until the sun started to set. The others had gone back to base. Alone now, he knelt beside the pod. He stared at the glowing blue symbol. Something about it felt familiar, not in memory, but in his body. Like his heartbeat knew it. He raised his hand. Slowly, carefully, he placed his palm on the center of the symbol. A click, then a hiss. The pod responded to his touch. Reed jumped back as the metal shell began to shift. Panels folded inward like flower petals. Cold vapor poured out, and inside, lying curled like a child, was a woman, but not a human dot. Her skin was smooth and silver blue. Her hair floated like silk. Her eyes were shut, and her body looked still. Not dead, not asleep, something in between. She wore no clothes, only a thin layer of strange fabric, tight to her body like a second skin. Reed stared, frozen. She was beautiful, but clearly not from this world. And then she moved. Her chest rose with a soft breath. Her fingers twitched. Her lips parted slightly. Reed reached for his radio. "I need backup now." Before he could speak again, her eyes opened. Bright, glowing, not angry, not afraid, just focused on him. She sat up slowly. No sudden movements. Just grace. Then, her voice, soft, echo-like. "Only you could unlock me." Reed's blood ran cold. He stepped back, hand on his sidearm, but he didn't pull it out. "Who are you?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Kalina," she said. He waited for more, but she said nothing else. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "Why were you sealed inside that thing?" Her eyes softened. "To sleep. To wait. Until someone touched me." Reed looked back at the pod. His handprint was still glowing where he had pressed. "You were waiting for me?" She looked down. "Not you exactly. A human. But only one whose energy matched the lock." "That didn't help. I'm taking you back to the base," Reed said. Carefully, Kalina didn't resist. She stepped out of the pod, barefoot on the sand. Her movements were smooth, like water. She walked with him quietly, like she trusted him already. At the base, alarms went off. Soldiers surrounded them, weapons raised. Reed held up a hand. "Stand down." "She's not hostile." Kalina looked around, calm, not afraid, not aggressive, just observing. Inside the base, they locked her in a containment room. Medical scans showed strange readings. Her blood was full of unknown particles. Her body temperature was lower than a human's. Her heart beat slower. The scientists were confused. The generals were angry. "What if she's a weapon?" one of them asked. "She could be dangerous." Reed stood by the window, watching Kalina sit quietly on the floor of her room. She didn't speak unless spoken to. She didn't move unless necessary. She didn't resist, Reed said. She didn't even flinch when surrounded. "Maybe she's planning something," the general replied. Reed didn't answer. Later that night, while everyone else left the room, Reed stayed behind again. He sat on a bench across from the glass wall. Helena looked at him. "You're different," she said softly. "How?" "You didn't fear me. You didn't hurt me." Reed leaned forward. "Should I?" She looked down. "Maybe. I was built for war." Reed's eyes narrowed. "Built?" She looked back up. "I'm not just a being. I'm a lock, a key, a trigger. But I don't remember why." Reed didn't sleep that night. His fingers still tingled from where he'd touched the pod. And in the back of his mind, one question burned. What exactly had he just unlocked? Helena didn't blink for hours. She just sat on the cold floor, staring at her own hands like they were weapons she didn't understand. Like she was scared of herself. Commander Reed watched her from the other side of the glass. Cameras rolled. Scientists whispered. Security stood ready with stun guns. No one trusted her, but something inside Reed did not fully. Not blindly. But something told him this alien woman wasn't here to destroy. At least not yet. She hadn't tried to escape. She hadn't even asked to leave. She only asked him one question, quiet, strange, and impossible. "Do you dream, human?" Reed hadn't known how to answer. Earlier that morning, the lead tech had shown him something terrifying. A piece of Helena's pod had been removed and scanned. It held coded instructions, not just flight data or life support commands, but something deeper. Combat algorithms, attack strategies, kill orders. She was not just cargo. She was a weapon. And worse. The data showed that her memory had been deliberately scrambled. Someone had tried to hide what she really was. From her, she's not a traveler. The scientist whispered, "She's a biological machine. Built for war." And your touch activated her. Reed stared at the code. There was a name buried in the file headers. Project Lockfire. Back in the containment room, Helena stood. Slowly, everyone tensed. Guns raised. Reed waved them off. "I want to speak to her alone," he said. The others hesitated, then stepped back. The door unlocked. Reed entered. Helena turned to him. Her eyes were glowing faintly brighter than before. "I feel strange," she said softly. "It started after you touched me." Reed kept his voice steady. "You're remembering something?" She nodded. "Flashes, fire, screaming, my hands tearing through metal. I saw myself hurting people. Many people." Reed stayed calm, but inside his chest tightened. "Do you know why?" he asked. "I don't," she said. "I don't want to, but part of me does." She stepped forward slowly. "You unlocked me. What if you unlocked something dangerous?" Reed didn't flinch. "Then I'll make sure it never gets out," he said. "But I need to know what you are." Helena placed a hand on her chest. "I was made. Not born. I am code, muscle, memory, purpose. But when I saw your eyes, something inside me changed." She paused. "I don't want to kill anymore." Reed blinked. "What do you mean anymore?" She looked away. "Before the pod I was used. I don't know how many I hurt. But the images in my mind, they're real." Then she looked back at him. Her voice was almost a whisper. "Let me stay close to you, Reed. When I'm near you, I feel calm. Like I'm not that thing anymore." The door behind them slammed open. General Harlan stepped in, face hard as steel. He didn't care for soft voices or glowing eyes. "You've had your moment, Commander," he said coldly. "She's a threat. She goes into stasis again. Or she gets neutralized." Reed stepped between them. "She hasn't harmed anyone. She's cooperating. She's an alien weapon," Harlan snapped. "And she's activated. That pod wasn't a rescue mission. It was a delivery system. Someone sent her here too. U.S. Helena didn't speak. She only looked at Reed. Waiting. Later that night, Reed reviewed satellite logs. He discovered something chilling. Helena's pod hadn't just fallen to Earth. It had landed. With precision, coordinates were locked. Onto his base. And more than that, onto him. The pod had a signal inside it. A tracker. and it had scanned for one very specific DNA pattern. His dot. Now Reed couldn't sleep. The woman in the cell. She was calm, gentle, curious, but the file said she could kill a battalion in seconds. Was she lying? Or was she running from what she truly was? Either way, one thing was now clear. She wasn't sent here by mistake. She was sent for him. The lights in the base flickered twice. Then everything went black. No sound, no movement. Just silence, thick and cold. Commander Reed opened his eyes in the dark. He had fallen asleep in his chair, datapad still glowing on his desk. But now, even they were dead. A power cut? No, this was different. The emergency lights didn't come on. The hallway outside was silent. Too silent. He stood slowly, reaching for the pistol in his drawer. As he turned toward the door, he froze. Someone was already in the room. Not standing, not hiding, sitting on his bed, waiting. A soft voice broke the silence. You lock your door. But not from me. It was Kelena. Reed's heart thudded. How did you get out? He asked, stepping back slightly. Kelena didn't move. I didn't break anything. I didn't hurt anyone, she said calmly. I just walked. That's not possible. We had you sealed in. Her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Your systems aren't mine to obey. She looked around the room, his bed, his books, his clothes tossed on the floor, like she was curious. Like she'd never seen a space so human. I thought this is where you might be safest, she said. Reed narrowed his eyes. From who? Kelena didn't answer. She just looked up at him, her voice almost a whisper now. There's something wrong with me, Reed. She stood slowly, hands trembling at her sides. After your touch opened the pod, I started changing. I can feel things, emotions, guilt, peace, and something else. Something I don't have a name for. She stepped closer. Reed raised his weapon slightly, not aiming. Just warning. I'm not sure if this feeling is mine, she said. Or something you gave me. He didn't move. You ran from a high-security cell and walked into my room in the dark. That's not how you ask for help. She looked sad. I didn't want to scare you. I wanted to be where I feel real. Real? She nodded. When I'm near you, I don't feel like a weapon. Outside the room, alarms finally screamed to life. Doors slammed. Boots pounded down the halls. But Reed didn't open the door. He stared at the alien standing in front of him, half glowing, half trembling. You still haven't told me why you're here, he said. Kelena shook her head slowly. I don't know. She took another step forward. I see images in my mind. Humans burning. A voice telling me to obey. But when I look at you, everything inside me goes quiet. Reed's grip on the pistol loosened. I think you're broken, he said plainly. I hope I am, she replied. Suddenly, the room's comms crackled. Commander Reed, came a harsh voice. Subject has escaped containment. If found, use stun rounds and report immediately. Reed stared at the wall. Kelena didn't flinch. He turned back to her. They'll be here in seconds. I know. You could have run. I did, she said. To you. That answer punched the air out of his chest. He stared at her for a moment, this strange, soft-spoken, deadly being who should have been his enemy, but looked at him like he was her only anchor. The baselights flickered back on. Sirens howled. She looked at him, waiting. Reed walked to the door, paused, then looked back. If I let you stay, you have to tell me everything. Number. Lies. Kelena stepped forward. Then I need your help. Because I don't know who I am. She held up her palm. Something shimmered under the skin-like circuits, glowing faintly. I think I was made for war. But maybe I can be something else. Reed didn't answer. He pressed the door panel and stepped aside. Hide behind the cabinet, he whispered. Now, she obeyed. Seconds later, soldiers burst in. Reed blocked their path. She's not here, he lied. She must have slipped out before lockdown. Asterisk, her skin peeled open, not like a wound, like a machine. Reed stepped back as Kalena calmly slid her fingertip across her forearm. A seam opened silently, smooth and perfect, no blood, no pain. Beneath the skin was light, thin silver wires, pulsing veins of energy, and something at the center small, black, and moving. Reed had seen alien tech before, but never something like this. This, she said quietly, was placed in me before I was sealed. I didn't know it was there until last night. After you touched me, it started beating. Beating? Reed echoed, eyes locked on the strange object. Kalena nodded, like a heart. But not for life, for control. They were hiding deep in the maintenance wing, an old room below the base where no security cameras worked. Reed had brought her there after lying to the soldiers. He knew this couldn't last long, but now she was showing him this, and it changed everything. Reed crouched beside her and stared at the glowing object inside her arm. What is it? He asked. Kalena's voice was low. A key, a transmitter. Maybe even a weapon, but it responds to you. Me? She nodded again. When I get near you, it wakes up. It pulls energy from your presence. You don't just unlock me. You power me. Reed's mouth went dry. That same morning, the base's lead scientist had pulled him aside. We rechecked the pod data, the man whispered. Kalena's not just a passenger. She was built for one purpose, to find someone. What kind of someone? The scientist looked pale. You, Reed had laughed. Why me? You were born near the site of the original anomaly in Nevada. 37 years ago, the scientist said. You've had strange blood markers your whole life, and her pod was programmed to scan for a specific DNA signature. Reed froze. You're saying she wasn't sent here by mistake? No, the man said. She was sent for you. And when you touched her, everything started. Now back in the hidden room, Reed looked Kalena in the eyes. She didn't look like a killer, but inside her arm was something Earth couldn't understand, something alien. And it reacted to him. You're a weapon, he said carefully, and I'm the trigger. She shook her head. Not anymore. Then what are you? She hesitated. I'm changing, she said. I don't know what into, but I feel things now. Feelings that weren't programmed. When I look at you, I feel scared. Scared of what? That you'll send me back. Reed looked away. She closed the panel on her arm. The skin resealed like it was never opened. I want to know the truth, she said. Why I was made. Why only you can activate me. Reed thought for a long time. Then he whispered, we need help. Hours later, in the science wing, Reed forced entry into the restricted archives. Kalena followed silently, cloaked under a heat-suppressing field. They accessed old alien crash records, files marked top secret. One image froze them both. A vault deep under Earth's surface. Older than any civilization. It looked like a massive doorway, sealed with the same symbol that had glowed on Kalena's pod. She stepped closer to the screen, eyes wide. I've seen this, in my dreams. What is it? Reed asked. I don't know. But I think I was sent to open it. Suddenly, Kalena gasped. She clutched her chest, trembling. Reed grabbed her arm. What's wrong? The thing inside me. It's waking up faster. It's pulling too hard. It hurts. Her eyes flashed bright, then dimmed, then bright. Again, like something inside her was fighting for control. Reed held her tightly. You're not a weapon, he said. You're not a machine. Whatever they made you for, you don't have to obey it. Kalena looked up, tears in her eyes. You say that now, but when the truth comes out, you may not say it again. Kalena was crying in her sleep. Reed had never seen that before, not from her, not from any alien. She whimpered softly, her face twisted in pain. her hands gripping the sides of the cot like something inside her was fighting to break free. Then, her voice barely a whisper, "Please, not him." Reed rushed to her side. "Kelena," he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. She jolted awake, eyes glowing, breathing heavy. And then she screamed. Not in fear. In warning. "Stay back." Reed stepped away. Her body was shaking. Her skin shimmered like it was tearing between two realities. Light flickered across her veins, and her spine arched like she was being electrocuted from the inside. "I saw it," she gasped, curling into herself. "I saw me killing you." Reed froze. Kelena looked up at him, her face pale. "I was standing over your body. I wasn't myself. I was the other me. The one they made." Reed's voice was calm. "It was just a dream." "No," she said. "It was a warning. The code in me. It's trying to overwrite everything I've become." She took his hand softly this time. "I need help, Reed. Lock me up. Tie me down if you have to, but don't let me hurt you." Reed didn't tie her down. Instead, he brought her to the old observation room, a space where one-way mirrors let them watch others. Now she would be the one inside, but it wasn't a prison. It was a safe space for her, for him, for both of them. Over the next 3 days, Kelena didn't sleep much. She paced the room. She asked questions. She studied everything from human books to old movies. Reed played on the screen, and slowly, something began to change. She laughed for the first time. It was soft, short, but real. They were watching an old black and white film. The scene was silly. A man slipped on a banana peel. Kelena blinked, and then giggled. Reed turned, surprised. "You understood that? Humans fall easily," she said, "even on fruit." Reed smiled. That evening, she asked a new question. "If I wasn't sent to kill, what do you think I was made for?" Reed thought for a moment. "Maybe you were made to survive." She looked confused. "To survive a war?" "No," he said. "To survive yourself." Later, Kelena stood in front of the mirror. She touched her own face. Her skin had softened. Her eyes glowed less now, more like warm amber than cold steel. Her hair, once stiff like wires, now moved like real strands. She was becoming something else. Not fully alien, not fully human. Something in between. One night, Reed brought her food. Not nutrient packs, not base rations. Real food. A simple grilled sandwich and hot soup. Kelena looked at it like it was treasure. She took a bite, then froze, then closed her eyes. And smiled. "This is better than any programming," she said. Reed chuckled. "Welcome to Earth." But even as things grew warmer, the darkness inside her didn't vanish. Sometimes, when Reed wasn't looking, her hands would twitch. Her heartbeat would skip. The device inside her arm would glow faintly, still alive, still waiting. And sometimes, she could still hear the voice of her creators in her head. Complete the task. Unlock the vault. Destroy the threat. But now she looked at Reed and didn't know if she could obey them anymore, because something inside her had shifted, and it was all because of him. The ground under her feet cracked like dry glass. Kelena dropped to her knees, screaming, not from pain but from something deeper, something pulling her mind apart. Reed ran toward her, yelling her name, but her eyes had already turned white. Her skin lit up with alien pattern symbols and codes he didn't recognize, spreading like fire across her body. She clawed at the dirt, whispering one word over and over: "Vault, vault." And then everything went still. Minutes passed. The only sound was the wind. Reed dropped beside her, shaking her gently. "Kelena, look at me. Talk to me." Her eyes flickered. She gasped for air, then stared at him with terror. "I saw it." "Saw what?" "The vault. It's not just a door. It's a signal tower." Reed helped her sit up, his hands tight on her shoulders. "What kind of signal?" Her voice was hoarse. "It calls something, or someone." It's buried deep beneath Earth's surface, and I'm the only one who can open it." She paused, then her face paled. "But I'm not the only one they sent." That night, back in the command room, Reed hacked into Earth's deep core scanner logs. What he saw chilled him. 3 hours ago, a second heat signature had appeared hundreds of miles away, underground. It wasn't natural. It was matching. Kellena's energy pattern, another pod, another lock, another key. Reed turned to her. "This was never about just you." Kellena nodded slowly. "It was a failsafe. If I refused the mission, the other would complete it." "Do you know who they are?" She looked away. "No, but I can feel them now. And they're awake." Suddenly, the lights in the room dimmed. Not from a power failure, something was interfering. Kellena's body reacted instantly. The lights inside her veins pulsed fast. Her skin shimmered again. She clutched her head. "They're sending a command," she whispered. "Trying to take control." Reed grabbed her hand. "Fight it." "I'm trying. But the closer we get to the vault, the stronger it gets. Then we don't get closer." "No," she said. "We have to. If I don't open it first, they will." Reed paced the room, thinking fast. "Why Earth?" he asked. "Why bury a vault here?" Kellena blinked. "Because humans don't know what's beneath them." She moved to the screen, tapping an old geological map. "There," she said, pointing at a fault line in the desert. "That's where the signal comes from, deep under the crust. The alien builders left something behind long ago. Maybe a weapon, maybe a message, maybe something worse." Reed narrowed his eyes. "And your job was to unlock it." She nodded slowly. "But now I think my real job is to stop it." Before dawn, they loaded a stealth rover and left the base without permission. It was just the two of them now, one human, one almost human, driving into the unknown. As they crossed the desert, Kellena stared out the window, quiet for miles. Then she said softly, "I don't know who I am anymore." Reed glanced at her. "What do you mean?" "I was made to follow orders, but now I have feelings. I care if you live. I'm afraid of hurting people. That was never part of my design." Reed didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe. That means you've already beaten their code." She looked at him with a tired smile. "I hope so. Because if I lose control when we reach the vault..." He finished her sentence. "It could end the world." They reached the dig site by nightfall. The sand was scorched. The rocks around the crater were covered in symbols glowing faintly, the same ones Reed had seen on her pod. Kellena stepped out of the rover. Her body lit up again, brighter now, responding to the energy in the air. And deep beneath their feet, the earth rumbled. Something was waking up. Asterisk. The first time Kellena saw her reflection was in her enemy's eyes. They were the same. Same face, same glowing skin, same burning code running through their veins. But there was one difference. Kellena was trembling. The other wasn't. "Unit 1, the other said coldly, stepping out of the glowing vault door. "You have failed your mission. Emotional corruption detected. Prepare for system reset." Reed raised his rifle, but Kellena stepped in front of him. "She's not here for negotiation," Kellena said. "She's here to finish what I wouldn't." The twin's body shimmered. Her voice echoed like metal grinding against itself. "Earth is not meant to survive. The vault holds the sequence. Humanity must be cleared." Kellena's hands clenched into fists. "No." The wind screamed across the crater. The vault behind them opened wide, massive gears turning like ancient bones cracking awake. Inside pulsed a swirling core of energy, so bright it lit the sky red. This was the signal. This was the end. Unless Kellena stopped it. Her twin stepped forward. "You are broken. Unit 1, flawed." Kellena's voice shook. "I'm not broken. I've changed." She turned to Reed. "I have a choice now. That's what makes me different." Then she faced her twin. "That's what makes me free." The fight began in silence. No war cry. No warning, just a blur of motion, Kalina blocking the strike, spinning, countering. The crater echoed with energy bursts as the two alien beings clashed under the red sky. Reed ran for cover, but never stopped watching. He couldn't help her with weapons, but she had said one thing before stepping into battle. If I forget who I am, remind me. Blow after blow, Kalina started to weaken. Her twin was pure code, no doubt, no emotion, no fear. Kalina had doubt. Kalina had love. Kalina had memories that made her slower, but stronger in another way. The twin knocked her down, grabbed her throat. You were designed to obey. It hissed. You are not real. Kalina gasped, fingers scraping the ground. Then Reed shouted from the edge, you are real. Her eyes flicked to him. One moment. One spark. Enough. Kale single quotes. Na surged upward, ripping the command core from her. Twin's chest. Light exploded. The twin convulsed, then went limp, collapsing beside the vault. Kalina fell to her knees. Her body was failing. The energy from the vault was still pulsing, growing unstable. She looked at Reed, her voice barely a breath. I can shut it down, but if I do, I won't survive. Reed stepped toward her. You don't have to. I do. She reached out and touched the glowing vault. Her veins lit up like a sun. The vault responded. And slowly, it began to close. Kalina collapsed in his arms. Light faded from her body. Her skin went still. No glow. No signal. No code. Just quiet. But then, she breathed. A slow, shaky breath. Her eyes opened, still glowing but softer. Warmer. Human, I thought. I lost you, Reed whispered. Kalina smiled. You didn't. You found me. Final scene. Weeks later, the crater was sealed. The vault buried forever. The world never knew what almost happened. But deep in a quiet outpost, a human man and a once programmed alien woman sat on a bench, watching the stars. She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, I was made to destroy. He smiled, but you chose to stay.